Greetings, philosophers. We've reached the final stop in our 5-part series on Friedrich Nietzsche's Homer and Classical Philology, the fiery lecture he delivered in 1869 at the University of Basel. Over the past episodes, we've seen Nietzsche, the 24-year-old prodigy, take on the world of philology, champion Homer as a mythic force, and call for a scholarship that doesn't just study the past, but makes it sing for the present. Today, in episode 5, we're wrapping it all up by looking at the legacy of this lecture, its place in Nietzsche's life, and why it is the skeleton key that unlocks all of his later writings. Exciting stuff! So, let's dive in one last time. Picture Nietzsche in that Basel lecture hall, his voice cutting through the air, challenging a room full of scholars to rethink their craft. Homer and Classical Philology isn't just a talk about ancient Greek poems, it's a young man's manifesto, a declaration that studying the past should be about more than facts and footnotes. It should inspire us to live better, create boldly, and find meaning. This lecture is Nietzsche at his most hopeful, before he became the philosopher of Thus Spoke Zarathustra, or Beyond Good and Evil. But it's also a turning point, a moment where he's already starting to break free from the academic cage. Let's unpack what this lecture meant then and why it still matters now. First, let's talk about how this lecture landed in 1869. Nietzsche was a newcomer, a young professor, thrust into the spotlight at one of Europe's top universities. His audience, seasoned scholars, students, local bigwigs, must have been curious, maybe skeptical. When he stood up and critiqued philology's obsession with dissecting texts like Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, while calling for a more vibrant, culturally engaged approach, it was bold. Some loved it. They saw a fresh voice shaking things up. Others, like the future philology titan Ulrich von Wilamowitz-Moellendorff, weren't so thrilled. Wilamowitz later attacked Nietzsche's next work, The Birth of Tragedy, partly because he thought Nietzsche was straying too far from scholarly rigour. This lecture was a spark, lighting both admiration and controversy. Why the mixed reaction? Because Nietzsche was walking a tightrope. He respected philology, the meticulous study of ancient texts, but he wanted it to be more than a dry science. He wanted it to connect with life, to use the Greeks' vitality, especially Homer's mythic power, to inspire a modern world he saw as increasingly mechanical and soulless. It's like he was saying, don't just study the Iliad's grammar, feel its fire. That kind of talk excited some, but it rattled others who saw philology as a serious, fact-driven discipline, not a stage for poetic dreams. This lecture is a snapshot of a young thinker on the cusp of something bigger. In 1869, he's still a philologist, trained to analyse texts with precision, but he's already restless. You can hear it in his words. There's a philosopher itching to get out. Just 3 years later, he publishes The Birth of Tragedy, where he dives deeper into the Greeks, arguing that their art and myths were a way to face life's chaos. The seeds of that book are here, in his call to make philology a cultural force, not just an academic exercise. This lecture is Nietzsche testing the waters, asking, can scholarship be more than scholarship? Can it change the world? Did Nietzsche's vision catch on? Not exactly. Philology didn't suddenly transform into the vibrant, culture-shaping field he dreamed of. Most philologists kept doing what they did best, digging into texts, debating details. But Nietzsche's ideas left a mark. Over time, his call for a broader, more humanistic approach influenced fields like literary studies and cultural history. Today, scholars in what's called reception studies look at how ancient texts like Homer's epics shape modern culture, movies, books, even video games. That's Nietzsche's spirit at work, even if he didn't live to see it. He wanted the past to speak to the present, and in a way that's happening now. Nietzsche's big question, how do we make the past matter, is as urgent as ever. In our world of smartphones, AI, and endless data, the humanities often struggle to prove their worth. Universities cut classics departments, saying they're impractical compared to tech or business. Nietzsche would hate that. He'd argue that studying Homer isn't just about old poems. It's about tapping into the human spirit, the same way a great film or song can move us. His lecture is a reminder that the humanities aren't a luxury. They're a lifeline, a way to connect with what makes us human. There's another layer here that feels personal. Nietzsche's critique of frigid antiquarians, scholars who lose themselves in details, hits home in our age of specialization. Whether it's academia, tech, or even social media, we're often so focused on the trees we miss the forest. Nietzsche's saying, step back, look at the big picture. Why do we study history, literature, art? Not just to know more, but to live better. It's like when you visit a gallery and see a painting by Titian or listen to a Beethoven symphony. It's not about the technique alone, it's about how it stirs something in you. This lecture shows us Nietzsche's heart. He's not the gloomy nihilist some people imagine. In 1869, he's hopeful, even idealistic, believing that the past, through figures like Homer, can inspire a better future. That optimism fades in his later work, as he grapples with bigger questions about meaning and power. But here, you can feel his excitement. He's like a young artist dreaming of what's possible, not yet weighed down by the world's complexities. It's a side of Nietzsche we don't always see, and it makes this lecture special. Nietzsche's Homer and classical philology is more than a footnote in his career. It's a call to arms. He's asking us to engage with the past in a way that's alive, creative, and meaningful. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or just someone who loves a good story, there's something here for you. It's a reminder to ask, what stories inspire us today? How can we use the past to build a richer present? In a world that often feels fragmented, Nietzsche's plea for connection through myth, through art, through the humanities feels like a beacon. As we close this series, let's carry that question forward. What would it look like to live with the kind of passion and confidence Nietzsche saw in Homer's epics? To make our work, our studies, our lives a little more mythic? Thanks for joining us on this journey through Nietzsche's mind. Let us know what big ideas you want us to tackle next. See you next time.